And thanks be to God. I said, what was it? Don't lag in zeal. And Nick's like, what? Especially on Sunday morning. Be zealous. All right, so good morning again. On behalf of our small but mighty band of missionaries representing Urbandale Church, we are so grateful and want to thank you for your support in making this trip happen. We were blessed to team up with our regional brothers and sisters at New Beginnings and Downtown Disciples and Wakanda Christian Church to be the collective body of the church representing Des Moines and representing one body in Christ. We packed up our gifts of curiosity and willingness and hard work, along with an insurmountable store of snacks. And we traveled all the way to Fort Worth, Texas. It was there that we partnered with a mission organization called Be the Neighbor to experience and learn about food insecurity and measures that are being taken to address those concerns in that community. So we did a lot of things. We visited food banks and clothing closets, and those folks are working really hard to make that transactional experience of needing care and needing support more dignifying, which I really found that to be beautiful. We set up boxes of food from pallets, and I mean pallets of food, these huge boxes that families of 4 could eat on for a week. And it was kind of cool because that came in contrast with an experience from the previous day where we were at a clothing closet that was closed for the day, but we were there to help stock and restore their shelves and things and clean up around there. And one of the youth said to me, yesterday we were packing these snack packs and I was so glad that they were going to be there when people would come to need them. And he said, today we're seeing the fruits of that by watching the families carry food home. And it was just a really meaningful thing for him to see. So I thought that was great. Just seeing the way young people were connecting what we were doing with the why was really important. We also learned some interesting things about food insecurity, especially that you don't have to be homeless to be food insecure. That there are families who are able to pay their rent and keep their lights on, but then they don't have groceries. We learned about food deserts, or rather I learned about a new term called food apartheid. And the difference in that is that the food desert is something that assumes that it happens naturally. But food apartheid is actually a systematic inequity that occurs in low-income neighborhoods and affects largely people of color. That word apartheid hit really hard. We visited a couple of unique urban farms, as Amy mentioned, where they're working urban land right there next to the busy causeways of Fort Worth, Texas. Strips of land where they can have gardens where fresh fruits and vegetables are available in those areas where fresh food is not accessible. But ultimately, I think we also learned that gospel ministry is often more about our actions of love rather than about a building or a weekly worship time. It's about seeing the plight of those less fortunate. I remember seeing those bodies laying on the street closest to their next meal, whether it was the food shelter or the church where we were going to serve a meal in the 110-degree heat, sometimes no water. How could they do that? With just a few belongings, they somehow find a way to continue to survive, and it's not without the help of good people like this church, like this community. It's about being the hands and the feet of the church and putting our thoughts and our prayers into action. So then I got to thinking about this church. And it was really, really encouraging to me to really realize that our church is doing the stuff. Our church has been doing the work ever since I've been here. We have been doing things like Family Promise and Food Pantry and Refugee Mission and backpacks and community meals. We are doing the things that they are doing to address food insecurity in this church. And that made me really proud of us. I know that a lot of these have lived here for a long time, and I know that some of these things kind of come and go in waves and things like that, but it got me to thinking about, what are our strengths as a church? Like Paul says, what are our gifts? What else can we do for our neighbors? I came to understand that in an inspired willingness to help, we must also seek to meet the need where it is rather than to assume what it is. We are aware that there is food insecurity in our own neighborhoods, as evidenced by the increasing service numbers at Urbandale Food Bank and DMARC and others, and by the free and reduced lunches that are offered right here in our neighborhood at schools. So I guess the question that I kind of come away with is, how well do we know our neighbors around this church? There may be folks in this neighborhood, there may be folks on this street or even in the house next door who might not know whether they're going to eat today or tomorrow. There are neighborhoods where fresh foods and greens and vegetables and things like that are not available easily. You have to jump on a bus. That public transit, the routes have been consolidated to control costs, to keep the service available, but then is it convenient when you have to take your 3 children and a wagon or a shopping cart and in the heat to go, and it takes you an hour to get there and an hour to get back and an hour to get served, and it's an exhausting plight to be a hungry person. So I know it's hard sometimes to know just what to do or how to help. But I also know in my faith journey that there has always been that nagging nudge, something speaking inside of me that says, I'd really like to see this happen. Or, maybe I ought to just fill in the blank. And that's God speaking to us, as speaking to the gifts that we have, the abilities that we have, because we're not all the same. We all have different gifts. We all have different abilities, but we're not unable or unable to help these people. Because we are created in the image of God, we are already equipped to do something. We each have a gift that we can offer, and sometimes we might feel like we're too old or too young or in some other way inadequate, but the truth is that the reason that we were put here on this earth is because we are needed to help God and to help God's beloved to realize that they too are seen and that they are loved and that they are cared for. I remember, I'm a creationist, so I have to go there, but the commandment is, you are charged with dominion, and we mistake that word to mean power over when actually it means responsibility for. We are responsible for each other. We are responsible for this earth. The commandment is to care for each other and for the earth and for the abundance that we already have, and to ensure that everyone can prosper and multiply. So just as Paul encouraged his church, so I will encourage us all to let our love for our neighbor be genuine and to seek to outdo one another in our enthusiasm to honor and dignify those who need us. That's what to not lag in zeal means, to be enthusiastic and excited about serving the Lord, creating and then rejoicing in the hope that we offer for the hopeless, and contributing to the needs of our neighbors and extending hospitality to the stranger. That's how we do church, here at Urbandale UCC. That's how we've been doing church. Let's just keep doing it. And so the question is not, what can I do? The question is, what can I do? That is that confidence and assurance that you know that there is something in you that is possible. And so when we wonder or look around and wonder whose job is that to take care of this or that problem of food insecurity, we're really asking, who was made for this? We were made for this. Indeed we were. And thanks be to God.